Hello all and welcome to Lab 2. For this lab we're going to be using a free software called QGIS to do some georeferencing. So there is a guide to install QGIS on Mac and Windows in the Lab 2 documents. So once you have it installed, the first thing we want to do, once you pull it up, this will be the welcome screen, and the first thing we want to do from here is do a little data management. So open your file manager and navigate to a folder you have for the class. Mine is just Geo2812, and go ahead and create a lab2 folder. And then within this folder we want to create another folder just called data. So you can either do that by clicking this icon, which is a new folder, or right click new folder, and we're going to call it data. And then once you have all that set up, you want to go to the As You Learn page and download the zipped lab2 file. That should appear in your downloads, and you want to select it and go to extract all, and then navigate back to that same location you had your lab2 saved, and you want to select that and extract. Once that's all set up, this should be what it looks like. From here, you want to open the lab2 folder within your lab2 folder that you just downloaded and copy this JPEG of the Boone master plan and navigate back and then place it into the data folder. So once that is all set and you have QGIS ready to roll, we want to come over to Project, Create New, and then from here we want to immediately save. And so make sure you're saving this in your lab2 folder and just save it as your username on As You Learn _ lab2. And so from here, make sure that you are saving frequently and often so you don't lose any progress. And so now we're ready to add that JPEG into the actual window. So if you see in the browser tab over here, you can play around with some of the drop-down menus. Your data should be located under Project Home, and you can expand it further into Data. If you hover over this JPEG, it'll give you the full name and pathway, and you can just double click it and it'll load on the screen here. And so one thing you'll notice is this question mark. This is alerting us that there is no coordinate reference system set yet. So this is where we are going to fix this by using georeferencing. So to do this, we want to set a spatial reference, and we're going to go over to the project tool and click on properties. And we want to search, you want to come down to this CRS tab if it doesn't already open it up to that. And then in the filter window, you want to search WGS 84 / pseudo - Mercator, and make sure the spelling is correct. If you need the exact spelling, you can refer to the lab documents. And we want to use this EPSG 3857. Once you do that, you can go ahead and click OK. And from there, we want to do this one more time, but we're going to do it from the Layers tab. So navigate over to the Boone Master Plan, right-click, and then scroll to Layer CRS and set Layer CRS. And again, we're going to type in that same thing. Make sure your spelling is correct. WGS 84 / pseudo Mercator. And it should appear down here, and you will select it and press OK. After that, we want to make sure that our plugins are up and running and installed. So we are going to navigate to the plugins toolbar over here and go to manage and install plugins. So you want to make sure that you are in the all tab, and we are going to search for quick map services. That's all one word, sorry. Quick map services, and it'll come down here. When you find it, yours will say install plugin. It's already installed on my computer, so it is saying uninstall. But you'll go ahead and install that. It should take a little less than a minute. And then when you're done, you want to come down to installed and just verify that you have that there. Once you have confirmed your plugin is installed, you can go ahead and close this out. And so what the Quick Map Services plugin allows us to do is to add base maps to our project. So for our lab here, we're going to add a standard base map maintained by OpenStreetMaps. So we're going to come up to the Web tab in the menu and hover over Quick Map Services and come down to OSM or OpenStreetMap and click on OSM Standard. And so you'll notice I added another layer down here. And when you want to zoom, you can use either your scroll bar on a mouse or you can pinch using a laptop. And you'll notice there's also magnifying glasses up in the toolbars here that you can zoom in and out with. So we are going to zoom out and see where our map is located. And as you can tell, this is not Boone. This is the western coast of Africa. And so we have our base map right down here, and we want to change that. So if you want to get back to it, you can right click and zoom to layer, and it'll get you back there. And so now we want to fix this using georeferencing. So from here, we want to georeference the Boone master plan to the OpenStreetMap standard so they line up in the correct spot. So to do this, we're going to need to zoom to campus, and whatever way is most effective for your computer. Again, the zoom controls are up here. For me, it is easiest to zoom out until I can see North America, and then come and use the magnifying glass and zoom in to Boone, all the way down to campus until your view more or less looks like this. And if you need to get it a little more exact, you can use this pan tool, little hand grab. So once you have Boone and App State's campus zoomed into, we want to actually start the georeferencing process. So to do that, we're going to come up to Raster and Georeferencer, and then this new window will pop up. You'll notice it's divided into two panes or two displays, and the top display will be our unreferenced map, and the bottom will be the geographic control points or GCPs. So from the Georeferencer window, we want to navigate to File and open Raster and import our Boone master plan JPEG. So get back to your lab 2 folder, and in the data folder, click on the master plan JPEG and open. And you can play around with the size of the window and minimize it so you can see what the unreferenced map looks like compared to the OpenStreetMap. Now we need to define the transformation settings before we begin adding control points. So in the Georeferencer window, we want to come to Settings and Transformation Settings. And for transformation type, we want Polynomial 2. And for target SRS, we want the one that we have been typing in, the EPSG 3857 WGS84 pseudo Mercator. And where it says output raster, you want to click on these 3 dots, also known as browse, and navigate to where you have your data saved. So my pathway looks correct up here, and I am going to save this as Gastelle _ Georeferenced. And then you can click save. And you want to make sure that you check both save GCP points and load in QGIS when done. And you can go ahead and click OK. The next step is to add control points by selecting locations that can be seen in both the unreferenced campus map and the OSM base map. So in the Georeferencer window, zoom in closely to rank in science that is across from the duck pond. And if you want to pan, make sure you have the pan tool selected and not this add point tool yet. And once you get zoomed in enough to where you feel like you can add a specific point, go ahead and do the same thing over here. And on the OpenStreetMap, we want rank in science west and south. Once you have that set up, you want to come back to the Georeferencer window and click on the Add Point. So make sure you have the Add Point tool selected, and it'll look like this little crosshair here. And you want to select a point that can be easily seen in both the GeoReference campus map here and the OSM base map again. And that's a corner of a building without a shadow, so you'll notice this one has some shadow over here, so that's probably not a great point. I'm going to use this corner here, and you just want to make sure that it is as close as you can get it. It doesn't have to be exact, but give it your best efforts. And then from here, once you select that point, you want to say from campus map, and that will take you to the base map, and you want to select that same point. And then you can hit OK, and you'll notice our first point has appeared down here. You are going to want to do the same process 9 more times for a total of 10 points at least. So you can vary your points across campus. Just make sure again that they aren't including any challenging areas such as the shadows. You'll notice many buildings have a shadow in the georeference map, so just make sure that your points are not there. You can refer to the lab document for a picture of some points used in previous labs. Yours do not have to be the exact same, but do make sure that your points are the same between your non-georeferenced map and the OSM base map. So in the Georeferencer, once you have your points picked out, you want to take note of the residual pixels column, the last column, and this column is telling you your error values. So the greater the number in the column, the greater the inconsistency between the base map and campus map. So ideally, you want these values to be less than 10. Don't be discouraged if yours are larger. We're about to show you how to fix those. Mine, I actually got pretty lucky that they all came out like this, so I will go ahead and do a demo on how to move one of my points, and we'll move 0.3. So as stated, I am going to move 0.3 because that is my highest residual point. So to do that, first I want to get to 0.3. I want to come down to this visible column, right click, and go to recenter. And that will bring me to my point. And you'll notice it doesn't bring it up on the OSM map, just in the Georeferencer. And then from here, I want to click on the tab up here, move GCP point. And this can take a while to get it correct. It can take a while to grab onto. I did it first try very luckily there, but you'll notice the residual value moves as I move the point around. So that has decreased it a lot, and I feel confident with that point right there. I'm going to let go and leave it like that. Just give a quick scroll, make sure all my points look good. These values are quite low. Your points don't need to be as low as that, but just under 10, and make sure you are moving them if you don't feel comfortable or confident in them. If it's too challenging to try to move the point, feel free to right click and remove and just start over. Your points don't need to be in any specific order. You can pick new points or continue to try to grab the same ones. Once your points are all set and you feel comfortable and confident in the residual values, to complete this lab, we are going to start the georeferencing final process. So what we want to do here is, in this georeferencing window, we want to come up to File and click on Start Georeferencing. It's a very quick process, and you'll notice it'll give you a notification that the merge was successful and that the raster is complete. And you can go ahead and minimize this window and zoom out, and you'll see that we have effectively overlaid our JPEG into the OpenStreet base map. And also, just a little side note, in a lot of the programs we'll be using, there'll be a lot of pop-up windows and different tools that you will use that you'll want to minimize and close. They will be stored in a window like this down here, and if you want to bring them back up, you can just click that. So to view how well we georeferenced the two maps together, you want to come down to this Layers tab and double click on your username in the georeference, and that will open the properties, and you want to come down to transparency. I have mine set to about 50 4 right now, and you can play around with it and see what you like. Whatever's going to give you a good view, you can get a little higher or lower. It's just a matter of changing it and applying it. You can tell as I change and apply, it appears in real time. And you also want to make sure that this additional node data value is 0. And then once you have it to an opacity that you'd like, you can go ahead and click OK, and that will close the window and you can see. Quick side note, I did not final apply that before I clicked OK, so it did not save, and now you'll notice it updated. So now we want to see how our georeferenced map aligns with imagery. So we're going to do this by adding something similar to a Google map. And to do that, we're going to come up to Web, Quick Map Services, and search QMS. And so you'll notice that doing that initially might not look like anything happened, and you'll notice that the pane that was over here disappeared. So if you want to bring it up one more time, you can just do that same process and it'll come back. And then we want to search Google satellite. And it's important that you notice the difference here is this one says google.cn. You do not want this one. We want the one that just says Google satellite. And we're going to add that. And it'll appear in your layers pane over here. And you then want to uncheck OMS standard. So now for part 2, we are going to digitize the map. And to do this, we are going to be using one of the proposed buildings on campus, and these are in either orange or red. So I will be using building 27 down here, the Holmes building, but you are welcome to use any building proposed that you'd like. So to digitize, we want to create an empty layer to populate with our digitized building. So to do this, navigate to layer and then to create layer and new shapefile layer. And for the file name, we just want to have it say, it'll be your username underscore digitized. And you want to make sure that the geometry type is Polygon. You want to make sure that your file is being saved in your correct lab folder, and you want to save this in the data folder. So make sure that file pathway looks correct, the name looks correct, and click save there. And you can do this before you finalize it, just making sure that the file pathway is correct. And for this drop-down menu, we want to make sure that it is the same projection we've been using, the CRS EPSG 3857. For the name, just go ahead and put this as name, and then add to fields list and click OK. So we have this new layer, but it's currently empty. So this is what we're actually going to digitize the building to. So to begin digitizing, we want to turn on the digitizing toolbar and just verify that it is on. So we want to come up to this pane and click on view, and then go down to toolbars at the bottom and just verify that digitizing toolbar is turned on. And so from here, once you've verified that, you want to toggle editing. So that will be this pencil right here. And once that is on, you'll notice there is a new set of tools you are allowed to click on. So we want this feature, this add polygon feature. And make sure before you select this that if you kind of have a weird zoom thing going on with your laptop or PC, that you are zoomed into the area. So you won't have to play around with it. Make sure the zoom is tight enough so you'll feel comfortable grabbing a corner in case you can't really zoom once it's selected. So from here, you'll notice this crosshair target comes up. You want to select one of the corners and then begin moving clockwise. So I will start here and bring it to the next corner. Feel free to take your time to make sure you get it correct. and that will close it. So to actually close this out, I want to double click and then right click, and that will save the shape I just drew. And then once this is pulled up, beside ID, we want to give it the building number, 27, and the name, we want to be Holmes Center Parking Deck. And then you can click OK. And so now our layer is digitized. And from here, we want to select the pencil again and click Save. So this is finalizing that layer we just made. And then now we want to play around with the appearances. So you can either double click here and navigate to Symbology. It might not open up right away for you, or if you click on the square, that will directly lead you to Symbology. You can play around with what the colors look like. You can apply and see what they look like before you actually hit OK. Any color works. Don't get anything that'll make it difficult to read text. Simple solid color is probably going to work best for you. And then from here, you can make sure you have your color applied before switching out to the Labels tab. And I'm actually going to go ahead and press OK and reopen this. So once you bring the layer properties back up, navigate to this Layers tab, and on the drop-down menu, click Single Labels. You want to make sure that this name field is selected and not ID. And you'll notice that it's printed here. This is the text sample. To actually edit, you want to come down here and change the name. So we'll name this Holmes Center Parking Deck. And you can play around with the fonts. Again, just make sure it's readable. You will be turning this in. I'll go ahead and make mine a little bit bigger. You can apply and see how it's going to look first before you finalize. But once you have something that looks good, both with Symbology and labels, go ahead and press Apply and OK, and you'll have your completed layer. And now we are essentially finished. So what you want to do from here is make sure that your project is saved. So come down to Project, Save. And then now you want to verify that everything is organized correctly. So come back down to Project, Home, and then open your data file, and you should see where you have stored everything. Make sure that all looks correct and that everything is there. So the last part of this lab demo is just to serve as a guide for how to back up your data and save it onto Udesk in the UStore folder. So to begin, navigate to your file manager where you had that lab2 folder saved and select it, right click, go to send to compressed zipped folder. That will create a new compressed zip folder within your same file pathway. And then from here, you can either email it to yourself or use Google Drive. I personally find it's easier for storage and just ease of process using Google Drive. So one thing I do is create a folder for the class within Google Drive and then create transfer folders so I know exactly what those folders were meant for and what they contain. So I can open this folder up, and then from here, it's easiest for me to just drag, select, and drag and copy it, and you'll notice it will upload down here. That is how I do it most efficiently. From there, you want to navigate to Udesk. So this is done by going to udesk.appstate.edu and logging in. Make sure you have your phone handy in case you need to do authenticate. You want to navigate to Geography and Planning, and you'll have to log in a couple times here. Okay, so this actually left off right where I was previously. What I want to do from here, this is what the screen will initially bring you to. You can navigate to Google Chrome or whatever browser you want to use to get to your drive and get back to that zipped folder. So from there, I want to navigate back to where I saved that in the drive or in the email, however I did it, and I want to download this, and it will download onto the Udesk. It's not going to re-download onto your personal computer. And then from here, I want to click on this uStore folder and bring this up. So once I have uStore folder brought up, I want to find where that lab2 zip was downloaded. So I'm going to navigate back, make sure it's under this PC to downloads, and I want to select this and copy it. And so from here, it can be a little tricky. I personally already have these shortcuts in mind, but that's because I use Udesk frequently. But for you, if you try to navigate back to this network, you might get this error message and it might look like something's not right. You can just exit that out and reopen the folder, and it will bring you back to the functioning network tab. And just make sure you do have that lab download already copied so you don't have to continually close out. From here, you want to navigate to GeoPlan class, and then classes. You'll see the classes you are enrolled in, and you want to find our class 2812 and your username. You'll notice I already have my lab 1 folder backed up here as well. And from here, I just want to right click, paste, and that downloaded zip will now be stored in my uStore folder through Udesk. So that is backed up. And important thing to note here, this is not how you turn in this lab. Please follow along the lab documents for the exact templates for what the submission will look like, and please be sure that the submission is in PDF.